Hey, how's it going? Today I'm going to be talking about vertical farming and what that is. Vertical farming is a modern agricultural technique that involves growing crops in vertical stacked layers or inclined surfaces. It's it is a departure from traditional horizontal farming. I see what people are doing there with departure. I don't know. I can take a look at some of those organizations up there who has a lot of access to a lot of capital, and they begin investing. There's a transportation company that recently have invested a lot of money in vertical farming. It's aerospace company. Currently working with airplanes. It's based in Middle East, so I can take a look at those departure companies. But either way, so it could be some of the examples up there and how those companies are doing, since they can afford best people, best up to standard methods, and hire some of the professionals of that. But either way, let's come back to departure. It's a departure from traditional horizontal farming methods, and it is gaining popularity due to its potential to address some of the challenges associated with conventional farming, such as limited space, water scarcity, and climate change. Depending on where you are located, some of the countries are facing these issues. Even here in UK, there's the scarcity of water, where during the summer there's a letter has been sent to people where they would say that you should be more conscious about how you're using water than watering your plants in the garden. I never knew that. It's even the thing. But either way, so we all should, if anything, that we should all perhaps be more careful when we are not consuming all the food that we're purchasing in the shop. We're throwing away everything in the bin, perhaps, if that's the case. So as well as limited space. Instead of using that space just once, perhaps we can stack that space all the way up, limited to perhaps to a structure of the building, as well as water scarcity. Water scarcity, that would mean perhaps we can look at alternatives and how we can potentially reuse water. This potential method, depending on statistics, what I'm looking, some of those statistics will go as far as 95%, 92% of reusing water, as well as climate change, if anything. That's the thing, right? With all the carbon that's been released. So let's take a look at some of the aspects of vertical farming and why it's different. Vertical growing structures. Vertical farms can be housed in buildings, past rooftops, shipping containers, specifically designed structures. These structures can have multiple levels of shelves where plants are grown. The plants are often cultivated hydroponically or aeroponically, which means that are grown without the soil using nutrient-rich water or mist. So there's different systems out there. I'm not entirely sure which system is the best. It's very hard to monitor since we're working with commercially sensitive information. So there are a lot of projects across the world where they're trying different systems, different ways, different methods. Perhaps, if anything, for myself, I might be interested in taking a look what would be the best system. I personally believe that would be vertical stack layers, with some of those hanging, and I don't know which one is the best. So again, that's my own opinion of how I believe, but not necessarily that would reflect what would work the best. Headlights. To compensate for the lack of natural lights in our indoor environments, vertical farms use efficient LED lights systems to provide the necessary light spectrum for plant growth. These systems can be customized to optimize plant growth and minimize energy consumption. That means not particularly plants. Some of the plants out there like blue color for some reason. Not necessarily limited to blue, There's some shades as well, but some plants prefer different lights, right? For some reason they grow better. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but when we're talking about 24-hour, 7 days a week cycle, where the plants can potentially grow compared to traditional methods, outdoor methods, where we need to protect plants from all the animals, I guess. But when you're growing everything indoors, especially leafy plants, where there's a lot of surface for them to take in all the light, they can grow very, very fast. So, so companies, there are some companies within the world where they already rolling out large quantities, and it's something that they already doing on a large scale. Not necessarily everywhere, but there are some companies of that. Control environment. Vertical farming offer precise control over environment factors such as temperature, humidity, and CO2 levels. This control allows for year-round cultivation of crops regardless of external weather conditions, making it possible to grow crops located with extreme climate, as well as there's a lot of potential to offer a lot of value for people out there, right? So if you can compare to traditional way of growing crops, if anything, there might be very sensitive information for people out there, but you can potentially yields, right? So how output, so how much you can produce compared to traditional methods, right? So if on the paper, I don't know, energy consumption, how expensive energy might be depending on where location again and other factors, right? But output, so something that within the same area was a some of the companies up there would be able to produce perhaps once a year or every 4 months or so, perhaps one good season, right? Compared to 24/7 constant production, almost like a factory, if anything, how much you can produce. So what will be output as well as how much operations might cost, right? How effective, efficient. It just, if anything, would be very high input costs, especially setting all up all facilities compared with traditional where ways of growing crops is not necessarily needing any investment, if anything, compared to this particular method of vertical farming. Water efficiency. Vertical farming typically uses closed loop recirculating systems for water and nutrition, uh, resulting in significantly less water usage compared to traditional farming. So this makes vertical farming sustainable option in regions where water scarcity. Uh, as I mentioned to you before, there are some companies who are investing a lot of money in that, as well as we're looking for ways to improve some of the city structures, as well as we have access to a lot of finances, where perhaps not necessarily all or other regions will have the same problems compared to them. Reduce pesticides use. Control environments in vertical farms can help reduce need for pesticides and herbicides. Additionally, the isolation of crops from outdoor pests and diseases can further decrease the risk of infections. So there's a reduced risk of since there's no weeds, right? There's no reason, no, if that's not limited to that, and there's no pests. Ideally, there's a lot of improvements there, perhaps. I haven't done it myself. I'm interested in this subject, that's why I'm covering it. Space efficiency. Vertical farming is an efficient use of space, making it suitable for urban areas with limited availability of land. By growing crops vertically, it maximizes the use of smaller footprint. If anything, not necessarily just crops. I have seen some of the projects that are growing trees as well, so perhaps there would be some potential there based on how expensive it can be to buy trees. Some people are growing those, so I have seen some projects there as well, but I don't know. I don't know cost effectiveness and how expensive that can be. I don't know. Perhaps that's not limited to only things what the people can grow in vertical farming. But what I'm saying, there's a lot of potential there. Shorter supply chain. Urban vertical farms can locate near or even within urban areas, reducing the distance food needs to travel to reach consumers. This can result in fresher produce and reduce transportation related emissions. Zero mile, perhaps concept, right? So perhaps you can source everything locally. There are some projects in some of the areas like London where they growing those plants in the very interesting areas, right? But either way, there's a lot of potential there. And I don't know again, so it's a very highly dense areas that we're discussing here, and how we can potentially maximize land usage. I don't know cost effectiveness, and if anything, I would like to bring more attention to how expensive energy can cost right now, right? And some of the other projects out there who can reduce that potential cost. If anything, you can potentially reduce number of people required. You can maximize land use, but the energy cost might go up a little bit. Crop variety. Vertical farming allows for cultivation of a wide range of crops, including leafy greens, most popular ones currently, I think, herbs, microgreens, and even some fruit plants. This versatility makes it a valuable addition to the agriculture landscape. There are definitely some. I don't know. Again, I will come back to cost benefit analysis, how much it would cost, and what and how you would like to maximize what you are doing there, thinking from business standpoint of view. Challenges. While vertical farming offers many benefits, it also faces challenges, such as high initial setup costs. Yeah, so that would be one of the biggest obstacles up there. So you would need to seek for support from investors or governments, for different communities, for people who might be interested in all the concept, perhaps starting small. But again, you need to make it cost effective. So how small can you go, if anything? Energy consumption, so that would be an additional cost, especially right now, as well as need for specialized knowledge and technology. The person who would be operating potentially can reduce number of people required, so that would be perhaps 5 years ago or so. There was a lot of information in the news here in UK where people not necessarily want to work in the fields, right? So they would hire fourth law people, they would hire, I don't know, all kind of people that would be interested in working in the fields. Perhaps instead of doing that, there would be a potential there where people would not necessarily can go in the fields, where they can potentially work in vertical farming, I guess, and that could be outsourced to robotics, if anything. So there's more might be progression there, and overall natural progression. We go with Darwin, I guess. Again. People out there who are interested in learning more, I have published a book. Name of the book is Game Strategy. In this book, I'm sharing a lot of information with the people who are interested. In this book, I'm sharing a lot of details of where to begin, how to structure things. If you were to begin to do anything, you most likely would begin by doing research. That would be the beginning of the cycle. If from there you would progress into taking action and actually setting up your company, running your business, as well as perhaps next cycle would be the beginning of investing in other businesses as well as perhaps ones that even might complement your initial business, right? So there's a lot of information there in this book that I'm sharing with the people who are interested in learning more. I have done so much work, and hopefully I will be able to share this book with as many people as I possibly can. As well as my belief that book will benefit a number of different people. You can find it in the description below, as well as Top Readers has this book. Vertical farming has the potential to play a significant role in sustainable agriculture and urban food production, especially as the world population continues to grow and the demand for fresh, locally sourced produce increases. However, its widespread adoption and economic viability are still evolving, and technology and practices continue to develop. So it's new. Everything is new. There are not necessarily the best people up there with the best know-how how we can produce it cost effectively. That could be done on a scale, right? So there's still evolving all the industry. So people out there, it's projected to grow. I don't know. There's a lot of companies Having published a lot of work with people out there that's projecting that vertical farming market would grow year on year dramatically. But I don't know how cost effectively it is. So hopefully, top projects most likely will. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next one.